Hey guys, we just got done filming episode 5 with Jay Isaacs. Great story just on discipline, how he started at such a young age, learning the true values and core characteristics that he developed over the years, fast forwarding into his career of being a banker, and how all the relationships just kind of folded on top of each other, ultimately allowing him to be a resource for others in their own journey. So we're excited. Hope you guys enjoy the episode. What's up, guys? We're back for episode 5. We've got Jay Isaacs here with us today. We're super excited to bring him in and talk through his story. So without further ado, Jay, I appreciate you coming on the show to kind of talk about your story.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Proud to be here.
Yes. No, it's been a long time coming. I think, it's been a while since we last saw each other, but I think we had kind of talked about doing this, and glad we're finally putting it into practice, and we're here to get your story. So kind of walk us through how you, kind of your journey growing up, where you're from, kind of give us an overlay of how that all started.
Well, born and raised in Roswell, New Mexico, in far southeastern New Mexico, and I grew up in what I would call an American graffiti type atmosphere. Born in the 50s, 56.
Yeah.
And Roswell was a small town. For New Mexico, it was a large town. It was probably 35,000, 40,000 people back then. Mm-hmm. And we had the air base that was there that made it, along with farming and oil and gas production, but the air base made the economy. Yeah. And then they shut it down in 1965. And so that was a tough time for Roswell. But so it shrunk a little bit. But it was kind of the all-American
dream,
American graffiti type town, and dragging Maine up and down as high school kids, and it was a safe place to be. Everybody knew everybody. There was 2 high schools, so it was a rivalry type of city. Yeah. But it was, and I had a mom and dad that were very well grounded people, pretty simple, kind of blue collar working class people. Mm-hmm. But we didn't know any different, Yeah. I know growing up, just one example, it was a struggle to be able to convince my mom and dad that I needed to play golf when I was in junior high and high school. Okay. And it was $12 a month to get a card for a student to play all the golf you could play at the municipal course, which
it's a pretty good deal.
Which was a 9-hole deal back then. Yeah. And that was a struggle. They had to stop and think about that. So did we need it every month? Yes, no, maybe. So it was. That's why I say it was kind of a blue collar,
for sure,
upbringing. But they were faithful people. Very faithful to family, and that had a huge impact on my life, was just the importance of family.
Yeah. Did you have any siblings growing up? Just you?
I did. No, there was 2 of us, but I was almost raised like I was the only child for a period of time. My brother was 17 years old when I was born.
Oh, wow.
And I had a sister in between us. She was 9 when I was born.
Okay.
So my brother...
They stretched it out.
I was the baby, is the way I like to say it.
Glad you made it.
And my mother laughs when she finally heard me tell that story one time. But my brother and I lived in the same house for just 1 year. It was his senior year of high school. Yeah. And then off he went to college.
Dang.
And then he got into banking. And so I grew up with him more like an uncle. Okay. Because he ended up getting married, had 2 kids. I was an uncle when I was 5 years old. Yeah. So it was a unique situation.
Golly.
Sister was, 9 years older than me, so she was out of the house fairly soon too. So by the time I was 9, 10 years old, I was the only one there.
You were running the household.
I was.
Yeah,
I was
good for you.
They all remind me of being spoiled.
I will say I'm the youngest of 2 older brothers, and there is something, you maybe hadn't seen it as much because they were so much older than you, but being the youngest, you kind of watch how they grow up, and you watch what not to do, what to do, and then you find the happy medium, and then you kind of take over the house, like they say. Yeah. That's what I felt, at least.
See, I didn't have that benefit necessarily because they were so much older than me. So
8 years is a big gap.
Yeah, I didn't have that much benefit. But to my parents' credit, they constantly were telling me, you can't do this or have that because your brother and sister didn't have that.
So they held you to a standard.
So yes,
Good.
held a standard, and it wasn't going to be. Even though my brother and sister thought I was spoiled, 'cause I probably got a little more than they did, but there still was a standard that mom and dad stood by.
That's good.
And you know, that's a principle that we can live. All of us can live our lives by. Is we don't want to need to bend the rules all the time for everybody, depending on what the situation is. You know, you need to have rules and guidelines and stick to them.
Yeah, having that foundational piece is, I think, what helps develop your character over time, right? To hold standards and keep them in place and not, like you said, bend the rules.
Very much so.
Yeah. Were you closer with your mom or your dad growing up, or did you have kind of a good relationship with both of them? How was that?
Had a good relationship with both, but probably was a little closer with my mother, only because my dad traveled. He was out of town traveling at least 1.5 weeks out of the month.
Wow.
So
what did he do for work?
He was a salesman for a chemical company.
Okay.
Industrial chemicals. So he was traveling quite a bit in southeastern New Mexico.
Okay.
But he would be gone a full week, driving from Roswell over to Ruidoso and Alamogordo and then back, and then he'd be gone a half a week, going down to Artesia, Carlsbad and back.
So he was grinding. He was
grinding.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
so
crazy.
when he was gone, it was just mom and I.
Yeah.
And so she and I had a very good relationship. My dad and I had a great relationship too.
Yeah.
Loved them both. They loved me.
Good.
And we all knew it. So
Good.
it was perfectly fine.
Roswell, New Mexico. Is that the place that people, Area 51, is that like where the aliens are at?
No, Area 51 is up in Las Vegas or in Nevada.
Okay.
But it is where the incident happened with the aliens.
That's what. Okay.
Okay.
So I got it backwards.
You got it about half right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Okay.
So it is the alien incident. The thing that's funny about that story is I was born and raised in Roswell, and I heard that story 2 times in my growing up, and that's it. Yeah, once was in 7th grade, New Mexico history.
Have to have heard it.
You had to hear about it then. Yeah. And then they had I guess it would have been the 35th or 40th anniversary, and they made a big deal about it in town.
Okay.
And at that point in time, I was already gone, and I had come back to Roswell, and they had morphed it into what we all know today.
Yeah.
You know,
it's a huge deal.
The Alien Museum, and the
put Roswell back on the map.
Put them on the map, you know, and so that whole story is an interesting one in itself. But that's neither.
Take pride in it, you know.
Yeah.
That's what people think of it as now. It's not the oil and gas what it started on. Now it's just the aliens.
I tell people I'm an alien and I glow in the dark.
No. So. You're in the better part. Now you're in Texas. You've got that right. That's awesome.
Well, the interesting part about that is my whole family is from Texas.
Okay.
All from the Panhandle, Amarillo area.
Yeah.
And right before I was born, my dad took a job in Roswell.
So that's what brought you.
And then I ended up with the New Mexico birth certificate. But as soon as I graduated from college, first job was in Texas, in El Paso.
Okay.
So been in Texas ever since.
Good for you. Where did Roswell, New Mexico, you don't really think about golf in that area just because it's all desert. Where did that passion come from? Is that something that you saw someone playing, or how did you kind of create that passion within?
Well, honestly, there's a lot of strong golf in New Mexico.
Yeah.
But where it really started with me was went out with my dad a couple of times, and he typically played, best I recall, 2 to maybe 3 times a year. It was with some buddies at work or wherever, and I would go out and just run around. And finally, I got to where I wanted to hit a ball.
Okay.
And next thing I know, I'm asking if he would take me over there and let me use his clubs, and they were just old rickety clubs.
Yeah.
And I would try to hit balls and got to where I could hit one.
Yeah.
And it felt good. So I wanted to keep playing, and they were kind of like, no, we need to stay home and do homework or do some work around the house or whatever.
Yeah.
But then they started supporting it enough to where I was over there with some other kids, and we all kind of grew up from 7th, 8th grade playing golf together, and
good for you guys.
Went all the way through high school.
Were you guys pretty good in high school?
We were. We had a good team.
Yeah.
We won state 2 years in a row.
Good for you.
Our junior and senior year.
That's awesome.
One unique thing about that is we had a girl on our team.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was Nancy Lopez.
So because of, what was the reasoning behind that?
Well, what was the reasoning was that back then they didn't have girls golf teams.
Okay. So they put everybody together.
And so what as Title IX today, that was kind of the start of it in New Mexico.
Gotcha.
She was a year younger than me, but she spent her freshman year of high school essentially in the courthouse in Santa Fe.
Trying to plead her case.
Trying to plead the case. And it was a national thing at that point too. Okay. But the end result was they said if it's a non-contact sport and there's not a girls' team, then they can play on the boys' team. Well, the only two sports that would classify were tennis and golf.
Golf and tennis, yeah.
And they had a girls' tennis team, but they didn't have a girls' golf team.
Didn't have enough girls
so
playing.
That allowed her to come play on the boys' team.
That's awesome.
And so
she held her ground.
She did hold her ground. Good. She typically played second or third man on our team. Okay. And we're glad to have her.
Man, what a story.
Yeah.
For you guys to kind of grow up together. And that reminds me of my high school. Like, you have a group of guys that start together and then you finish together. And then you, like you said, win state junior, senior year. I mean, I couldn't even imagine. Did everybody go play? Aside, I know you played in college, but
interesting enough, there was 5 guys plus Lopez, and she was a junior that year. So the 5 of us were seniors.
Yeah.
We had a golf coach that was really the basketball coach.
Okay.
And here we win state 2 years in a row, but all 5 of us went to junior colleges.
Really?
So he didn't help us at all.
Dang.
To get into a D1 school or a D2 or anything.
Okay.
So we all ended up going to junior colleges.
Okay.
And before that was said and done, I was the only one that went on and played full 4 years out of those 5 guys, and because I went and finished up at New Mexico State.
Yeah.
And well, I don't think I even said it, but the junior college I went to was New Mexico Military Institute.
Okay. Yeah.
And then I finished up at New Mexico State. They all went different directions.
Yeah.
And I don't think any of the other 4 kept playing.
Okay. So tell me about your path. Like, how did you choose New Mexico State Military Institute and then realize that you're like, I'm pretty good at this. I'm going to try and, make a move to New Mexico State. Tell me about that journey.
Yeah. New Mexico Military kind of fell in my lap in a sense, but also with some very consistent nudging from my dad.
Yeah.
Had played golf, was trying to seek out scholarships wherever I could.
Yeah.
And had some other scholarships from junior colleges, had a couple of, D1. It was just enough to cover out-of-state tuition. And probably in June or July of that summer after my senior year, the coach at New Mexico Military, who I knew well, calls and says, "We've got a scholarship for you, full ride."
Bingo.
And so my dad heard that part of the story, and he thought it's local, it's a little military discipline, and it's free, so you're going here. Yeah. All I wanted to do was play golf.
You didn't care.
I didn't care.
Yeah.
I didn't honestly know what I was getting into.
Yeah.
But it's one of the better parts of my life is with the experience that I had at New Mexico Military.
Yeah.
I'm still stay in touch with them, very active with them, but it afforded me the ability to play golf and to go to college because nobody in my family ever graduated from college.
So you're first generation.
My brother went to college for 3 years, I believe. My sister went for a couple of years. But I was the only one that went to college with the intent of graduating.
Good on you.
Excuse me.
Good on you.
But so it gave me that opportunity to go to college and to play golf.
Yeah.
And going to class and all that was just part of the process to play golf. Mm-hmm. And so had 2 very successful years there, and that afforded me the opportunity. Plus, during that process, I got married. And my wife was already at New Mexico State in Las Cruces, so it was easy just to say, all right, let's go over there.
Yeah.
And I actually walked on that first semester, and about halfway through that first semester, I got a scholarship.
Good for you.
To finish playing the rest of the 2 years while I was at New Mexico State.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
What were some of you said you were really successful at NIMI. What were some of the things that you learned while being there, like on the disciplinary side, that kept you kind of, I've got to go to class, but I'm playing golf. Like, you were doing the little things to get you, on the course and keep you focused. What were some of the things that you...
Good question. I was motivated to do whatever it took to be able to play golf. So that meant, from a disciplinary military standpoint, you had to keep your nose clean.
Yeah.
I can still remember to this day, the first week we were there, I saw a guy out marching with his rifle, just going back and forth. And he would go down here, 25 yards and turn around and go back. And I'm like, what's he doing?
Yeah.
Why is he out there? He was marching off tours from last year.
Oh, wow.
And you get so many demerits, you have to walk a tour. Well, a tour is 1 hour of marching back and forth with your rifle.
Holy cow.
I vowed then I was never going to be in that situation. If I got demerits, you could get up to 10 demerits in a week, I think it was, if I remember right.
Not me.
And I'm like, that ain't happening here. So
whatever it takes.
I got up. I made sure my room was in orderly fashion like it was supposed to be. My uniform was the way it was. Your shoes were shined. Your belt buckle was shined.
Yeah.
You were out for formation on time. You ate your square meals. The way you were supposed to.
Yeah.
You went to class, you studied at night. And so I did all those things because I knew if I messed those up, it would take away from golf.
Wow.
And I was motivated to play golf, and I was going to do the best I could there.
That's awesome.
That was part of the motivation. Mm-hmm. The discipline that comes with a military atmosphere, it was a boys' school at the time. Today there's girls. And I was kind of glad as I look back, the women have had great success at New Mexico Military, and it's a wonderful place for them to be. As I look back, I'm kind of glad I wasn't in that situation because it changes the dynamics of the school in a lot of ways. But they have been very successful, so I don't want you to think for a moment that they don't belong there.
You just evolve over time.
It did. It evolved over time. And
that's awesome.
And so I'm proud to still be involved very actively with the school today, and I'm proud to see that the young women are doing well there.
That's awesome. What was that something that you developed at NIMI, like that discipline side of things and how you were going to keep things, lined up? Or was that something that you learned kind of your parents taught you with chores at home kind of growing up? Or did you have to develop that in junior college when you went?
A little of both. Okay. My mom and dad, especially my dad, do the right thing. It was a character issue. It was a moral issue. Do the right thing. Mm-hmm. Do what you're supposed to do. Well, when you fold that into a military environment, because you're 24/7 military, you're in uniforms. You don't get to check out and go put on your civvies.
You're always on campus.
Go somewhere. You're on campus. You're in uniform. If you get to leave campus, you're still in uniform. Mm-hmm. But that discipline that is instilled in a military environment is one that still impacts me today. I mean, even some silly things. I still fold T-shirts and underwear exactly the way they taught us to. Cool. It's just because that's the way you put them together and fold it up and put it in your drawer.
Yeah,
it's
awesome.
It's a habit. I still make a bed the way they do. My wife gets she makes fun of me.
Good luck fighting that battle.
She doesn't get mad at me or anything. She just it's like
it's funny.
It's just our bed. Why do you have to do that? I'm like, that's just you fold the corners.
That's what my brain's telling me,
and that's the way you do it.
That's awesome.
You just do what you were taught and do it the right way.
Yeah.
And the way you interact with people, the way you have respect for a military hierarchy, and you have respect for an institution.
Yeah.
And you have a respect for your country. And those are things or values that really should be across the board with our American citizens. And they're not today. We all know that.
Yeah.
But the New Mexico military will instill some values and some characteristics that can permeate the rest of your life.
For sure. And it's obviously still affecting you to this day, right?
Oh, big time.
Which is awesome.
It's there's an old saying that goes with a lot of old cadets is that you hate it while you're there, but love it when you leave it. And the love for the school grows the longer you're away from it. And I've got an event, ironically, here we are today talking about it, but I've got an event, alumni event this coming Saturday here in Fort Worth.
Wow.
So
you're still connected.
Yeah, still connected. And believe it or not, this year is my 50th
oh my gosh.
reunion.
That's so cool.
Alumni reunion in October.
Good for you. Well, that's, again, just a testament to your dedication and commitment right over the years. That's awesome. It's cool because it's bigger than yourself. And I think those, like, you can't teach those are some things that you can't teach. You've just got to kind of go through it to be able to realize it, right? Like, and you said, it's respecting your peers, respecting the other cadets that are above you, and obviously fighting for your own country, right? Those are all things that you've got to look at yourself in the mirror and say, man, it's bigger than me. I'm doing this for a bigger purpose, to either protect my country or have a standard that I'm going to uphold to be able to impact other people around me, because that's what we're taught, right?
That's very true.
Yeah, that's pretty
very
cool.
true. Now, the one thing about New Mexico military, it is a military school.
Yeah.
Not everybody is in the ROTC program that you would get commissioned and move on. It is a unique school in that it's it used to be one of only 2 maybe schools that you could get a commission out after 2 years of junior college.
Wow.
You go through the summer training, boot camp, and advanced training in the summer, and plus the military school atmosphere for 2 years. That's sufficient enough to go on to get your commission in the military. A lot of students will defer, which they give you that option, and go finish your last 2 years somewhere.
Okay.
And then go into the Army or Navy or whatever it is.
Okay. So they
whereas
just give you
most
the
schools,
opportunity.
most schools, it's a 4-year program. If you go to Texas A&M or any other school that's got an ROTC program, you're going to go 4 years.
That's cool that they give you that choice of, kind of fast track, it's a faster pace, but you can be done at 2 years, or you can go on and, do another 2 years if you want to, but have that choice.
Yes.
That's cool.
Now, most of us that were there for other reasons, whether it be to prep to go to an academy or to just to get 2 years of junior college under your belt and move on.
Mm-hmm.
There was a small group of cadets that were in ROTC programs. See, you have to remember, I was at the tail end. My time frame there was at the tail end of Vietnam.
Okay.
That had already started calming down, and so some cadets were willing to go ahead and get their commission and go on.
Yeah.
And a few of them, I still remember this, it was humorous for us that we're not in the ROTC program and about to get commissioned.
Yeah.
For the guys that
in
it
it.
impacted, this wasn't funny.
No.
But they all got their orders to where they were going to go, whether it be,
deployed to.
I don't even remember all of them. You got infantry and armor and quartermaster and a wide
Different
variety
classes.
of different disciplines. I don't even remember them all. But all of them were excited about where they got their chosen field.
Mm-hmm.
And about a month later, it was probably mid spring semester, there was a little flare up in Vietnam.
Okay.
And about within a week's time, all of them got their orders changed and they went to infantry, which put you on the front line. So they would. It was an interesting time frame because they were all sweating at that point. Yeah, they were panicking.
Holy cow!
Because they didn't know what was
Where
about to happen.
go.
Yeah, and so their best made plans were turned upside down. Again, that's where some of the discipline, respect, the military atmosphere is that you learn to adapt. You understand what you signed up for, but you learn to adapt.
Yeah, which is cool to see how people react to it. Right.
That's exactly right.
So you fast forward, you go to New Mexico State, you walk on. Tell me about that transition, playing for New Mexico State, different environment, I'm sure a little tapered back on the, disciplinary side, just your environment naturally. But
big time
tell me about that transition.
Well, what I have to say is that right after I graduated New Mexico Military Institute, my wife and I got married.
Okay.
So very young.
Wow.
We both had just turned 20, and we get married while we're still in college. So we go over to New Mexico State. Walk on there, and what was unique there from a golf perspective, I had 2 full years of golf. I played every tournament except one that I got sick. Played every tournament, so that was, you could figure you were playing 8 to 10
a lot of rounds
tournaments. Yeah. So I had at least 20 tournament rounds of golf under my belt when I showed up. My fellow junior players that were junior classification might have played in 2 or 3 tournaments.
So that
experience was huge. And that's why I'm a big advocate for the junior college program for the right situations.
Yeah.
Because it allows you to grow up and mature a little bit if you need to, have the military atmosphere if that's what you choose.
Yeah.
But it gave me that experience that these other guys didn't. So it was easy to qualify for a tournament.
Just like
because I
nothing.
had the experience.
You just showed up.
Made a difference.
Good
and
for
then
you.
the bigger challenge was going to the tournaments and playing well.
Okay.
So, yes, I get over to New Mexico State. From a military standpoint, it's obviously different. I'm a civilian now, and I can freelance. I can let my hair grow. I can wear what I want to wear.
Yeah.
And so it was a lot of fun. But I was married, and I was the only one on the team at the beginning of that year that was married. All the rest were still college guys, and they're
Dating
having
girls
fun.
left and right.
Oh, yeah. They're dating, having fun, partying.
Yeah.
I didn't have
You had a
the
commitment.
proverbial pot to piss in, so to speak. And so I couldn't go gamble with the guys playing golf. I mean, I couldn't afford to lose $10 or $20 because I had a wife, and we had to figure out how to make that work.
Yeah.
And so, ironically, I get my scholarship, and here's again, you got to go with the flow and adapt. But back in those days, you compare it today to NIL stuff.
Yeah.
But back in those days, if you got a scholarship, it could be room and board, tuition, and books and fees.
Yeah.
Well, if you were married, they wouldn't pay for married student housing.
Oh, geez.
That's where we lived.
Yeah.
I wasn't in a dorm or anything.
Because you had.
So the only way to get around that, Coach gave me a job in the pro shop.
Oh my gosh.
And I worked in the pro shop on Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays. The rest of the time I was practicing with the team.
And then you made the difference on what you would have gotten paid.
That's right.
Wow.
So
good on you.
It was
Whatever
good
it
on,
takes.
It was good on Coach.
Well, yeah, but
Coach,
for you to be
Coach saw this young married kid that didn't. It was naive, still naive, even after coming through a military school and being
getting married out of college.
It was like, this kid needs some help. I know what he was thinking.
He was looking after you.
And God rest his soul. He passed away here about a year ago.
Dang.
But
Sorry.
he was a wonderful man and a wonderful coach and a good Christian person to follow. And so I really admired him for a lot of different reasons. But that was the uniqueness of me, because I'm thinking about a relationship at home with my wife. These guys are thinking about where they're going to party next, or we're all out playing golf, and the conversation's so different because I'm talking about school and marriage, and they're talking about school and partying and whatever.
Bipolar opposites.
Exactly.
So tell me about your relationship with your coach over that 2-year stretch at New Mexico State, the impact that he had on you in golf and outside of golf.
He was a wonderful impact because he was a good person himself. He was a good Christian man, very vocal and open, not overtly, but he was open about his Christian faith and how all of us should have Christ in our life.
Yeah.
He was a great mentor from a golf standpoint because he wanted to promote the game of golf. And he was very successful in his own right in New Mexico.
Yeah.
Ironically, he graduated from the University of New Mexico.
We don't talk about that.
But he was a great mentor in that sense, but he was a great golf instructor. And I liked listening to him, and I liked trying to follow his instruction, and it helped me in a lot of different ways.
Yeah.
And he used me again. He used some other players. We would help him teach PE classes for golf.
Okay.
And that helped us a lot because he knew that there were some of us that might have some interest in the golf business. You know, and that was a way to kind of put your toe in the water and get a feel for it.
Yeah, that's cool. Was there a certain situation or maybe day or scenario that you can think back on that you were like, man, this guy's a rock in my life. He's a pillar. Like I will rely on that guy. Or is there just kind of over time?
The day he committed to me, and it was probably mid-semester that fall after I kind of walked on, when he committed a scholarship to me, then I knew he was with me. And he went another step when he realized that he couldn't give me room and board because I was married. That was a penalty almost. He found a way to make it happen for me and to keep me on the team because without it, I probably would have had to go get a job somewhere.
For sure.
I realized then he was more than just a golf coach.
That's awesome.
He was concerned about me and my wife.
He was a friend first.
He was a friend first.
That's cool.
And he was a good friend and a good coach and a good mentor in that regard. and he, he was easy to stay in touch with through all the years up until probably a year, maybe 2 years before he passed away. I was still engaged with him at least once a year.
Yeah, but those are the relationships that sports will give you. Isn't it crazy how the sports can just bring people together that you would have never imagined, and you go through the years and live life and do life and continue to seek advice, right? It's something that you can't emulate, or it's awesome.
It starts when you're little,
yeah,
and you start building networks, relationships, friendships, and how those manifest and blossom into something later on in life. It's amazing, and that's you have to cherish those type of relationships. When you're to my age and you get to look back on your life, those are the kind of relationships you look back and say, man, that was special back then.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah.
So you go New Mexico State, you play golf. What point did you say, all right, I'm going to hang it up and look onward and see what I want to do, full time?
It was interesting. I was playing well, and I did the thing that most people would like to do is you get to your senior year and you peak.
Yeah.
And I did that for me.
Okay.
As it turned out, it worked out well. I played well my the spring semester of my senior year.
Okay.
And finished that up with playing well at our conference championship, made all conference. So I was
good for you.
I was ecstatic about that.
Yeah.
But for as little bit of time as I might have thought, okay, turning pro is an option here.
Mm-hmm.
What are the chances? I also had a wife that I had to think about, and so the chances of me turning pro and making a life of that was probably remote. So I had to make the hard decision. Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna forego that and pursue what my degree was going to be, and my degree was in finance.
Okay.
And part of that came about because of my brother, who I said was 17 years older. He was a banker.
Okay.
And going into college, I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. And,
no one does.
Yeah. And it was probably my senior year before I realized, okay, if I'm going to do this finance thing, I think I want to get into banking.
Okay.
And so it was after I graduated, or after my eligibility was up, because my eligibility was finished up after 4 years. Yeah. You got 4 years to complete.
Played all 4 years.
Yeah, played all four. So, but I still had another semester to go to be able to graduate. Mm-hmm. So I went and got a job at a savings and loan there in Las Cruces.
That's awesome.
Just was the general flunky.
Yeah.
Could do anything from taking the trash out to being a credit analyst to presenting some mortgage loans. Savings and loans do a lot of mortgage loan business, and would prepare mortgage loan packages for approval. Back then, it was their board of directors, but it gave me a lot of exposure to things that still are meaningful to me today. At least through my banking career until I retired. Yeah. So once I started working there, I worked part-time from May until, I guess, December. My eligibility was up in May of that year of 78. Okay. And through December of 78, I was working at that savings and loan. Okay. And probably another one of the, I'm not sure I'm answering your question exactly, but probably one of the most influential people in my life came about, and it was a guy that was applying to be the president of that savings and loan. Okay. And let me back up a little bit here. After my eligibility was up, we moved to El Paso because my wife got her first job teaching in El Paso. Okay. And so I was going to commute back to Las Cruces. She commuted to El Paso for 1 year. Yeah. While I finished up my senior year, and she had already graduated, she commuted to El Paso for her job. So then we moved, and I commuted back. The savings and loan hired a guy by the name of Bill Britton. I'll never forget that guy. He was a major impact on my life, and I'm still in touch with his wife. He's passed away, unfortunately. Yeah. But I'm still in touch with his wife via Facebook. Okay. But he knew that I needed to get to El Paso because we were already living down there. And he helped me out in such a way that he said, why don't you just come to my house and commute with me, because I'm going to commute for a semester as well. So in the morning, I'd drive to his house, and get in the truck. Here I am, a college student,
Yeah.
and here he is, the president of the Savings and Loan.
You're hopping a ride.
And we'd drive to Las Cruces, and he said, "Here, just take the truck." It was the Savings and Loan had a truck for various
company
things.
truck, yeah.
And he said, "You take the truck and go to class, and when you're finished, come back, and we'll get done, and then we'll go home."
Wow.
And so we did that for a semester.
Okay.
Well, we get to the end of that semester, and I did well with school. Didn't make a 4.0 by any means, but I did well. Got by, and he got me 2 interviews at 2 different banks in El Paso.
Golly.
I would never have known who to contact and to chase any opportunity, but he helped pave that way for me, and I ended up getting a job out of one of them.
That's awesome.
And that's what kicked off my career. I've never forgotten that man for how he helped
Kickstart your career.
just a poor college student that just knew he needed a job and needed to be down in El Paso instead of Las Cruces.
Mm-hmm.
And he helped pave that way. And I vowed back then, even as a 22-year-old at that time, to say, I'm going to pay this forward, because help young people as much as you can in your life, because you never know where you received it. Well, I knew where I received it from. And Bill Britton, God rest his soul, was a wonderful guy to me, and he didn't have to be back at that time.
It's crazy because things like that, obviously, go a long way, right? And in our day and age, I think we undermine the impact that you can have when you don't expect top guys like Bill himself, who will drop whatever they have and bring guys like you in and have them tag along, right? And go out of their way when they don't have to, but they choose to. And I feel like that's not as prevalent in our day and age today, because guys could care less about the bottom level guys, because it's not going to bring them anything. It's not going to serve them anything. And I mean, think about the impact that not only he had on you, but what he did to help you get there, and what it turned into, and how successful you become over the years, right? If he didn't do that, you would have never found it, right?
Who'd have known where I'd still been stuck in Las Cruces, being a
good Mexican food there.
Yeah, good. Yeah, exactly.
I'm a local guy. Yeah,
I could have been a collector of loan payments, for
exactly. But no, seriously, it's crazy how it works, isn't it?
It is.
It's all it takes is a little grace in your heart, but also the willingness to go out of your way and try and impact and make others around you better, right?
Right, very much so.
That's crazy. So you go to El Paso, then what does it look like the next 20 years? Do you stay there for a while, or do you move on? What kind of look?
No, I started a track that was a little bit interesting, but I was at that job for 2.5 years, I guess, in El Paso, and got recruited to go to First National Bank in Midland. I was at State National El Paso.
Yep.
Got recruited to go to
good old Midland.
First National Bank in Midland, and that's kind of an interesting story. It was printed in a banking journal at one point several years ago. But my boss came to me and said, "Hey, there's going to be what's called a district meeting, for a banking meeting for the Texas Bankers Association, and it's going to be in El Paso on this coming Saturday. And you and half a dozen others, y'all need to go." And I'm like, it's Saturday. I'm going to be playing golf, and why do I need to go down there on a Saturday?
Yeah.
And he said, "No, you need to go." And so I went, and there was bankers from all over that West Texas region, from basically Midland all the way back to El Paso.
Yeah.
And so I met several people, and one of them was a guy from Midland at First National Midland.
Man.
And he took my card, and after we talked about what I was doing in El Paso, I was running credit card business and indirect lending, as they call it, auto lending, the operation side of it. And so he takes that card and gives it to his boss Monday morning, and Monday afternoon I get a phone call. He's like, we need to talk to you about come to work for us.
Like, what are you talking about?
I'm like, my goodness, I just missed a tea time Saturday, and now I'm getting a call to
job offers here.
Exactly.
You're going to start doing that
for
more.
Something. So I didn't know anything about Midland other than I had played college golf there. That Midland College was in the same conference as New Mexico Military.
Okay.
So I went there twice, played golf course, went back home to New Mexico Military back in Roswell. So I didn't know anything about the town. Didn't even know about it being oil and gas. I just knew it was oil and gas. Didn't know that much about it.
Yeah.
And so they called, set up a day for me to go and go and interview, and just trying to do a little homework on this bank.
Yeah.
And I called my brother. He was in Ruidoso State Bank at the time.
Okay.
And he said, where's the interview? And I said, First National Bank in Midland. He said, take it. I said, what do you mean,
what
take
are you talking
it?
about?
He said, whatever they offer you, take it.
Yeah.
And I said, oh, is it that good of a place? I mean, he's like, yes, it's that good of a place.
Don't pass it up.
And he made that very clear.
Yeah.
Take it, whatever they offer.
Drop everything.
So go through the interview process, get a job offer. I take it.
Okay.
And that helped start the bigger part. Excuse me. That helped start what became a 40-year history. Career was being in Midland, because it's just a wonderful town.
Yeah.
In so many different ways, and
good people.
It's wonderful people.
Yeah.
And it allowed me to do a little networking and start building a career. Mm-hmm. And met some very influential people there as well, as you do everywhere along your way.
Yeah.
But stayed there for 8 years, and during that time our bank had failed, and Republic Bank out of Dallas bought us. And so 7 years later, I get a call to say, we want you to take a look at an offer in Dallas with the bank, staying with the bank.
Yeah, just moving you
And
over.
the bank in Fort Worth found out about it. There was a sister bank in Fort Worth, and they said, we want you to come interview here. And Dallas said, well, if you're going to be there, come visit with us in the afternoon. Yeah. So I did.
Okay.
And my wife and I still remember this today, and this is not a knock on Fort Worth. But we looked at it and said, and I had an offer from both. Mm-hmm. And we looked at it and said, Fort Worth's just a big Midland. Let's go to Dallas.
Oh, man. Well, change of scenery.
Change of scenery, change of pace, change of atmosphere, change of everything.
Yeah.
And because we knew the difference between Dallas and Fort Worth back then.
For sure.
There's a lot of that still exists today on the Fort Worth side. I don't think the Dallas people think of it that way.
They've gone off the rails. Yeah.
So I go to Dallas, and once again get in a situation with working for a great boss and mentor.
Yeah.
And I was there 8 years total.
Wow.
And went through a lot of change. During that time in Midland and that time in Dallas, there was about 12 years running that we were in constant layoff mode.
Dang.
And lucky me, I never got caught in it.
Good. Very fortunate.
But very fortunate.
Yeah.
Because there was a lot of people that fell by the wayside during that time. So spent 8 years in downtown Dallas and enjoyed every bit of it.
Good.
Because through that, I was working in what was called correspondent banking. So that's where you're calling on banks. Mm-hmm. A bank has to have a bank just like you and I do.
Yeah.
And so I'm traveling the state of Texas in various parts, East and West Texas predominantly, but managed a group where I was traveling the state of Texas too. So I got to know bankers all across the state.
Good for you. Networking.
And, yeah.
Like you said, getting your name out there.
Perfect networking.
Wow.
And get to know a lot of people, know where to go to get answers for various things. So it was very, very helpful. Then decided to get out of the Metroplex and had some family issues. Dad passed away. My brother had passed away unexpectedly.
Okay.
And my mom was still in Roswell, out there by herself. I had a sister that was down in Austin. And so I thought I need to get a little bit closer. And I had a good customer of mine was First National Bank in Lubbock.
Okay.
And so started talking to them about the possibility of moving there. And as it developed, and we took the opportunity and moved to Lubbock.
Okay.
Absolutely loved it. Still love Lubbock. It's a wonderful town for a lot of different reasons.
Yeah.
But part of my job was to still call on banks, but also to help develop a relationship at Texas Tech.
Okay.
Because our bank really didn't have a presence at Texas Tech.
So that was the big push to try and get in there.
That was a big push. So I spent a ton of time.
Did you do it?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I'll share a story with you. It was kind of funny.
Yeah.
My boss calls me in. He's the president of the bank and says, kind of one of those conversations where he puts his finger on your nose and says, you're going to help me get a relationship and a presence at Texas Tech. And because I was trying to help with the private banking group, so kind of calling on high net worth individuals. And so focused on the health science center where all the physicians were, and then focused on the academic side.
That's where all the money's at.
Pick and choosing.
Yeah.
And so you have this kind of twofold here.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times you'll start calling on an organization at the bottom and work your way up to get to the CEO.
Yeah.
Texas Tech was this big behemoth of an organization. You can't do that.
Yeah.
So we flipped it on its side and went after the chancellor
Yeah.
and the president of the University and Health Science Center side.
Yep.
Made some great inroads there, and then start filtering down into the organization. And next thing you know, you're involved in a lot of things.
Everybody knows who you are.
Yeah, it became very beneficial in a lot of different ways. But at one point, the chancellor tells me and my boss that we're going to hire Bobby Knight. It's like, great.
Yeah,
perfect. Give us an inroad. We gotta have him bank with us.
Exactly.
And so we leave that meeting, and I go back in the next day. And some people would say this is being a little cocky, but I just thought I could do it.
Yeah.
So my boss had a ranch up in Montana.
Okay.
That he used. I can't remember if he owned it or leased it, but he had this ranch that he would take people fishing or hunting.
Clients.
Depending on depending on what the time was.
Yeah.
And so I walked into his office and I said, they say Bobby Knight's coming. I'm going to bet you a steak dinner that I can get his bank account before you can take him hunting or fishing.
You're on.
He was like, "You're on."
Oh, that's awesome.
And so I got to work.
Of course.
And where the real connections came, again, networking, connectivity, is I was very good friends with the wives of the chancellor and the two presidents.
Yep. Right-hand man.
Yep. I went to the wives because
they'll give you the time.
They were getting to know Bobby Knight's wife.
Oh.
Okay. And Karen was her name.
Okay.
Sweet lady. And Bobby Knight, he's got he's a great man in so many different ways. He's got that rough character that a lot of people would say, but he's still a genuine person that cares about people.
Yeah.
But there was an event that Bobby Knight used to do he did it in Indiana, as I understand. He did it at Texas Tech.
Mm-hmm.
And he started a library fund, and he was going to contribute $1 million or more to this fund.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of people said that's his way of telling the faculty to stick it in their ear because he's supporting the library fund, but all they want to complain about is his salary.
Exactly.
So there was some different motivations, but he was helping students.
Good.
He was not going to be able to be at the event. And so I talked to those three spouses. I said, help me get at the table. And it
Whatever
worked.
It takes. Did it really?
Worked. And I ended up getting invited to sit next to Karen Knight. And lo and behold, I talked to her about what I did at the bank, and she shared a lot of information.
Head over heels.
Them.
Yeah.
And she said, his banking relationship was handled out of a national bank.
Yeah.
And he really didn't have a whole lot of control over it.
Okay.
But there was one that he did, and that was he had summer camps and his shoe contracts. And I said, well, surely you got to have a local bank for that.
Yeah.
She says, yeah, we do. And so she opens up. She says, let's do it. Let's set up the account.
Oh my gosh!
So I met her, set up the account, got the signature card signed, and I walk into my boss's office and I said, hey, how's that hunting trip coming along?
You planned that thing yet?
And he said, yeah, I'm working on it, bro. It's going to happen here before too long.
Slap it on the table.
So I flipped that signature card over to him, and
several
four-letter words came out that I can't repeat here, but awesome. It was a hilarious situation. But
you proved him wrong.
One more time, knowing people, connections, networking,
that's what got you.
It all helps in a lot of different ways.
That's
so cool. That's kind of the long story. Had some great times, great relationships in Lubbock. Yeah. And then a friend of mine that I had worked with in Midland back in the 80s had called and said, hey, help me come. I'm going to go back to Midland and start a new bank.
Yeah.
Help me come get it started. Well, I couldn't go right then because my wife was finishing up her master's degree, which is part of the reason we went to Lubbock anyway. And then my son was graduating high school, so there was no way to move him.
Can't transition,
So it was about a year and a half later. I moved back to Midland to help the bank that was already off the ground. They had started about a year and a half before I got there.
But
then we started building it. So I was back in the saddle in Midland.
Yeah.
It was a little different town because it was 13 years of
grown a little bit.
That had grown some, and faces and people changed, but there were still a lot of people there that I had known before because I had some good mentors that introduced me to some long-term Midlanders that were going to stay there. So ended up spending 20 years there in Midland that second time. So I had 27 total years in Midland.
That's crazy.
But that last 20 was wonderful. Couldn't ask for better.
So you have all this success, you're learning off of mentors, you're kind of bouncing around different parts of Texas. Tell me about some of the failures that you had experienced along the way. Are there some experiences that you look back on, man, I'm glad I failed in that way, or there were things that, just really you couldn't get over and it took you a while to kind of overcome?
Sorry about that.
You're good.
I tell you, there's one thing that I still remember that was not being smart enough, being naive, that goes all the way back to New Mexico Military Institute. That I still look back and think how things would have been different just in that school situation. But I was a local cadet. I was from Roswell. The school's been in Roswell since 1800s, late 1800s. And every year they pick top cadets to come back early in the fall for when new cadets come in, because they come in a week or two before the rest of the school comes in.
Yeah.
So one day I get a call to go to the commandant's office, and I had no idea what it was about. Nobody had told me.
Yeah.
And so I go in, and commandant says, "Sit down and start this little chit chat conversation." And he's like, "Well, what are you thinking about next year?" I said, "I'm out of here. I don't like this military stuff. I'm gonna go find a place to play golf, where I don't have to deal with this."
Yeah.
And he was like, "Really? You sure about that?" And I said, "Yes, sir. I'm going to go on somewhere else."
I'm set. Yeah.
Excuse me. But he said, "Okay, have a good day."
Dang.
And I got up and walked out, not knowing what in the world he was about.
Yeah.
What he was going to say.
What
he was going to say. He never finished any of it. He just said, "Okay, if that's the way you feel, have a good day."
Wow.
And I got up and walked out. And before I could get back to my room in the barracks, one of what we called them TAC officers. They were the adult military officers. Most of them were military.
Yeah.
That were responsible for the discipline within the barracks, so to speak.
Gotcha.
He was from Roswell, obviously. He knew me from when I was a teenager growing up, and he met me. He beat me to my room, and he was like, "What in the world did you just do?" And I said, "I don't know what I just did."
He told him what I was going to do next. Yeah.
He didn't tell me why I was there.
Yeah.
And he said he was going to invite you to be part of the cadre to come back.
Oh, man.
In the fall.
Which is a big deal.
It was a big deal.
Wow.
Because that would have put you in a position to be an officer to be able to move on up.
Wow.
And put you in a position of authority within the cadet ranks. And so it was a big deal. And it was gone. It was blown. And so you fast forward, I spent the first part of the summer thinking, I'm going to get me a scholarship somewhere. Yeah. I'm going elsewhere. So I'm checking everywhere around, and nothing's developing. So about July again, I'm calling Coach, say, "Hey, Coach, I'm coming back." So I got my hat in hand, tail tucked, and I'm going back to the Institute.
Salute.
And just kind of eat crow myself. Yeah. Nobody else knew about it. I knew it. My mom and dad knew it.
Stuck with you.
So when I got back, again, this is where you apply yourself, you adapt, and some of it's just grit and determination.
Yeah.
But I get back and with the old cadets, and I told my troop commander, I said, I want this. There's squad competition and troop competition that if you can do well, you'll promote yourself up quick.
Okay.
And so I took that, and so I had 6 cadets, a couple of them old, couple of them new cadets, and we were going to win that squad competition.
Whatever it takes.
So we were up at 5 a.m., and just the 6 of us, 7 of us, and we'd be out doing drills.
That's
just
awesome.
Going through all the the patterns and progressions that you go through on a military competition like that, squad competition.
Yeah.
And we ended up coming in second, and it was a very finite difference on just rifles that are lined up. One turned early, and the last one turned
marginal.
It was very marginal, and we came in second. But that allowed me to get promoted.
Okay.
And I caught up to where I could have been if I had
just our conversation.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that's where being a little bit more mature, understanding your situation and surroundings was a valuable lesson I learned in that regard.
It's cool that you looked back on that, though, and realized that at such a young age. I feel like most people won't see that until, they are 7 years old and they're like, oh my gosh, like, I wish I would have made better choices along the way. You realized it at such a young age because of, I think, the maturity that you had, which is really cool, and then you carry that into what your job was, and that was just networking and having the right conversations and being self-aware about what's going on. Like you said, it all translates. You talk to the wives, you get yourself in the right rooms, and then things happen, right?
Very much so.
That's really cool. So out of all the experience that you've had, what is the greatest advice that you've ever received from, was there a certain person that you've...
I'd have to go back almost to Bill Britton, and that's what he did was help people. And in banking, and I had a 41-year career, wonderful career in banking, but in banking, it's all about helping people. It doesn't matter if you're at a small community bank in Snyder, Texas, in my case, Midland, Texas, or you're at the largest corporate bank in New York or Dallas or wherever.
Same thing.
You're helping people.
Yeah.
You just get to do it at a little more personal level at a community bank in Midland, Texas, like I was, where you get to know people. You're going to work with them. You're going to church with them. You're lending money to them. You're managing their money for them. You're friends in a lot of different ways. You're serving on community boards. All those things come together. You really get to know folks, which is the part of community banking that I really like and enjoy.
And you figure out, once you know what you want, the purpose behind it, the job becomes easy.
Very much so.
And I feel like you identified that at a really young age, which
very much so.
Is what translates to the success that you had.
I try to tell people that all the time. We did it with our two children, and they've blossomed into what they are today. I'm so proud of both of them. But you just try to help people be successful, put them in positions to be successful, whether it's your own child or it's an employee or a friend.
Yeah.
Put them in a place, if you can, help put them in a place that they can be successful.
Yeah.
Because if you force somebody to go to a school they don't want to go to, or you force them into a career they're not real sure about, they're going to flounder.
Yeah. How do they create their own path?
That's right. You got to find out help. In my case, my two children are so opposite in so many different ways, but they're so alike in others. But we just tried to support them in what they wanted to do. And one's a pilot, and the other's a psychologist now, and does suicide prevention for veterans in the VA system. And they both are.
They love what they do.
A psychologist and a pilot. They're so
complete opposites.
But yet they both are very successful in their careers. So
and it's the foundation you guys gave them, right?
That's exactly
and
right.
that's what it's about.
And that's what my parents did for me, and that's what New Mexico military and New Mexico State did for me, and that's what Bill Britton back in El Paso did for me.
Isn't it crazy?
Yeah.
Where does your faith come into play in all of that? Did it up and down along the journey, or is it kind of always consistent?
It's always been consistent. Okay. Grew up going to church as a kid. My mom made sure I was at church and Sunday school, and so I accepted Christ kind of in my in that old way of being saved, that you don't necessarily think of, the early age stuff.
Yeah.
Probably when I was in high school, I can still remember the revival that came to Roswell, and I was a part of that, but I had already had a foundation of going to church and understanding what faith was about, and that helped develop it. And from my wife and I got married, and we started going to the Methodist Church in El Paso, and got involved with youth groups and helping to teach youth groups, and then from that, everywhere along the way, we've been extremely involved with church work, and understanding what a Christian faith is all about to your life and to your family and to your relationships. And so that's been an integral part of us all the way up today and here in Fort Worth and being retired.
Yeah. It's called paying it forward, right? Leaving it
Very
better
much
than
so.
you found it and making others around you better.
Very much so.
What is I try and ask people this in different ways in our episodes, but what is something that you want to be remembered for when God calls you home, looking back?
Probably what I'd said before is, did you help and love others? And I've worked hard to try to help people all along the way. I can think of here just in the last month or two, I've had 4 or 5 former employees calling me looking for help with job searches or positions or recommendations or whatever the case might be. Did God see that I lived a Christ-like life to the best of my ability? We're all sinners, but did I work hard to try to help others and love others?
That's awesome. It's so cool because it's so relevant and prevalent throughout your entire life. It's not something that you've just started to talk about. It's the evidence is there, and you should take pride in knowing that you've done that. And again, you're paying it forward. The foundation that you're leaving for your kids, for your grandkids now, and everything in between, by your employees calling you, every month, and it's a different one every other week, but you're still helping, right? And that's what God has called you to do, and to be that helping hand is what it seems like you're very gifted at, is what you should continue to do until He calls you home. So
you build those networks that we've talked about. And that's helped me get to where I am today, just doing 2 little part-time jobs that
just
I
keep
do
yourself
today
busy.
to keep me busy, but both of them keep my fingers engaged with community banking. And it's all about networking. It's being able to call people and try to get things done, matching people up together. That's what the networking has done for me, and I would say I'm pretty good at it. I can see a situation where somebody has a need and they've got resources, and to be able to put the 2 of them together, it's not about me, it's about them.
Filling the gap.
And it's about them.
What do you think? Why is it so important? Our whole podcast is based on the you versus you model of not, I guess, comparing yourself to what other people do in the banking world. How is that prevalent for you to keep your head down and just focus on the result, or focus on what you were getting after, and not have the outsiders come in and, obviously people seeing around you the success that you had? How did you kind of keep focused and keep your head down during that?
In banking, when you're trying to help serve others, no different than you learn at church. You learn to serve others. Banking gives you that opportunity to serve others. And if I'm doing what's right for you and managing your money for you, whether I'm taking in deposits or I'm loaning money to you, or I'm financing the home or financing your children's college education, doesn't matter.
Whatever it is,
if I'm taking care of you, things are going to be well. And when you're in a banking situation, most bankers do fairly well in life, but you're managing money for people that are very wealthy.
For sure.
And so you can't look at their situation and say, I got to be like you, because you're not going to make it. You'll get frustrated if you stick to your knitting, try to take care of others, you'll do well in the banking industry. And a long-time banker, he's now deceased, wonderful man, and his name was Jeff Austin Sr. He was out in East Texas, and now his grandson is now chairman and CEO of the bank. His son was still there, but his grandson's now running technically fourth generation.
That's crazy.
But Jeff Austin Sr. Used to have a saying that, if you're good to banking, banking will be good to you. And that's so true.
Keep the main thing the main thing.
That's right.
Wow.
Stay focused on the customer. Take care of that customer, because they'll come take care of you.
That's awesome. Well, it sounds like you did that throughout your career.
I tried to. Had some good mentors like him. He was a customer. He wasn't somebody I worked for. He was a customer.
That's crazy.
So
he came to you.
Yeah.
That's crazy. So off topic, I grew up in Las Cruces, full disclosure. So Mexican food obviously is something that I grew up on. I know that you had that your fair share while you were there. But man, That is one thing I miss and that I want to bring here to Fort Worth. I think you can attest to that too. So shout out to Andales. If you're ever going to listen to this, just know you've got some people in your corner. So
yes, I fully agree. I grew up a little family-owned restaurant in Roswell called El Charro. And it was a wonderful Mexican food place, and we ate there fairly regular.
Yeah.
Get to Las Cruces, get a better understanding of a green chili.
It's the best of the best.
Thought I had an understanding of it growing up in Roswell. Nah,
no chance.
Until you get down there to Las Cruces and really see what
green
chili is all about. And to this day, we still get our green chili from Las Cruces.
Should never change.
Yeah.
And we'll just keep pumping it to you.
Some people are members of wine clubs. Yeah. We're a member of the green chili club, so we get green chili and hot sauce from Las Cruces, Doña Ana County.
There we go. Built different in the South.
That's right.
Chili capital of the world.
That's exactly right.
Never stop. Jay, I appreciate you coming on and sharing your story. I think what's unique about you is that, again, you never looked at the product, but you looked at the relationships and how were a driving factor in all of them. So it's a testament to who you are and your character, and started in a small town in Roswell, carried yourself into, military institute, going to play golf, playing at a high level, and then carrying yourself into, being very good at what you did. So you should take a lot of pride in that and all the experiences in between. So
I do. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I appreciate you coming on, and we'll see what happens the next 5 years. Hopefully you'll keep hitting the ball straight, and who knows what else will happen on the impact side. But never stop being you. And I would say your mission and what you had talked about throughout the episode, very prevalent, and you should take pride in that. So never stop being you.
Thank you. Yes. I appreciate your comments.
Yes, sir. Well, guys, that wraps up episode 5. We appreciate you guys watching. Stay tuned for episode 6. We'll see you guys next time.